In this section, we'll continue building out our admin app in the admin dashboard. So let's create a new file in our profile directory called admin-.js. So as always, we'll start off with our usual imports. We'll need React and component, and we'll need connect because we're going to use the Redux state in this component. We'll need our actions, the link from React Router DOM, we'll need the history utility, and we'll need Axios. And a very common feature in admin dashboards is a calendar. So we'll be implementing this here. And we'll use a helper library to build the actual calendar. And the library is called React-Big-Calendar. So you don't have to look at a loading screen. I've already downloaded this library. And if you haven't done so, just go ahead and just run npm install react-big-calendar. And of course, we don't want to manually handle all the dates, so we'll use the moment library to assist us with that. And finally, go ahead and import the CSS for the React Big Calendar as well. And the import path is going to be React Big Calendar /lib/css/React Big Calendar. And again, this is just importing all our styles, and this will actually set up the calendar. And then let's continue with our imports. We're going to need paper from Material UI, and this is going to actually display all of our appointments, which we'll implement also. We'll need a card, we'll need a dialog, and then finally we'll need a button. So let's now create a variable to initialize our big calendar, and it's going to be a const of localizer, and the value is going to be bigcalendar.momentLocalizer, and then pass in moment as an argument. Again, this just initializes our big calendar and makes it work with moment.js, and moment.js is the same library we used before to handle the dates. Next, we're going to set a bus open time and bus close time. And this is going to be the business open time and business close time. Since we don't want users to make an appointment, for example, 1 in the morning on a Saturday, we want to keep it within the business time. Next, we have all views, and this is going to be the views the calendar is capable of displaying. So pass in a string of month, week, and day. And this is saying that our calendar is capable of displaying dates as the month, week, or day. And again, we'll see this when we do our testing. And finally, we can initialize our admin dash class with a empty div. So the first thing we'll do is actually get all of our appointments from our database. And we'll do this in the component did mount method, and we'll use the Axios get request. So do /API/get in all appointments. We'll then run a .then statement, and then the response we get from the database will pass it to our Redux state and save it there. Next, we just do our .catch error handling, and we'll need another .then statement to actually save our appointments to the local state in the events property, and we'll see why in a second. It's basically because we have to pass in all of our appointments to the big calendar. And finally, we have another .then statement that will be date string to object, and this is how we'll convert our appointments to a usable format for big calendar. Because again, the way it's stored in the database is not how you would use it in the big calendar. So this is what this function is for. So let's now set up our local component state, and we'll do this in the constructor. So we'll do this.state equals, and then we'll need the first property to be open. And again, we've seen this many times before. This is for the dialog box to open and close it. Next, we'll need events, which will be an array, and this is what we'll save all our appointments to, our array of appointments that we get from our database. And we'll need another array called format events to hold the formatted events that are formatted to be used in big calendar. And we'll have our start display. So this will actually be a start time that is displayed to the user, to the UI, because you can't just directly display dates without formatting them correctly. So this is what this property will do. And then we have our start slot and end slot, and these will hold the dates of the appointment, the start date of the appointment and the end date. And again, start display and start slot are the same exact time. It's just that start display is a property that is formatted to be displayed to the UI. So when a user wants to make an appointment, they'll see start display displayed to the UI, a formatted date. The start slot is a unformatted date that's to be saved in the database. All right, and now let's get started with our helper functions. So we'll need handle click open and handle click close, and these are the same exact helper functions to open and close the dialog box. So we'll just set state open true and set state open false. And then we have our dates to string object, and this is what will format our appointments correctly to be used in Big Calendar. So remember, this.state.events holds our unformatted raw appointments, and so we run the map function on them because it's going to be an array of appointments. And then for each appointment we do this.setState, and remember, format events is a property we want to save our formatted events to. And then format events is an array, so we have to declare the array and then flatten it. So we do ... this.state.format events, and this just flattens all of our array. And then how we add a new formatted appointment is we do comma. So this will put our appointment at the end of the array, and it's going to be a JavaScript object. So we do the curly brackets, and then how we format each appointment is first we need an ID, and this ID is going to be contained in appointment.aid, and AID is a primary serial key that's generated by PSQL. So that's where it's coming from. And then we have title, so it's going to be appointment.title. Our start time is going to be new date, and then appointment.start time. And again, date just formats our date time so it can be displayed appropriately. And then we need the end time as well. And that's really it. That's how we format the dates. And now we'll set up our handle appointment confirm function, and this will be how we save our appointments to the database. So it's going to be an Axios post request. So first we'll need the time start, and again we'll get this from this.state.start slot, and this time is going to be coming from our big calendar, which we'll see in a second. Our time end is going to be this.state.end slot. Our data is going to be a combination of this, and for now we'll just put the title as a string of booked. And then we now need our Axios.post request. So it's going to be Axios.post/API/post/appointment. And then of course we pass in our data variable as the second argument. And then we can just console.log the response. We also need a set timeout, and we'll redirect to the home page after 700 milliseconds. And let's also do a alert of booking confirmed. So this lets the user really know that the booking was confirmed. And now we have our show to-dos function, and this will display each appointment for us in a list. So we'll display all of our appointments on the physical calendar as well, but we'll also have them in a list, which makes it a little bit easier to see and know when the next appointment is. So we'll pass in props as an argument, and then we'll do div and then a paragraph of props.appointment.start.localstring. And this just formats the date appropriately to display in a paragraph. And we'll just keep it simple for now. This is all we need. And now to actually set up our calendar. So calendar is set up as a functional component, and we'll do it between a div with a height of 500 px. And this height is important. I did run into errors when not specifying the height directly. And in between these divs, let's set up the big calendar. So the first thing we have to do is pass in the localizer, which we set up at the very top, remember, in the const called localizer. Next, we pass in the attribute of selectable, and this allows the user to just directly click on the calendar to set an appointment. And we have next the events, and it will be equal to this.state.format events, because again, we need the formatted events. We can't just pass in events directly from our database. Next, we have min, which is the minimum time a user can make an appointment. And this, again, remember we set this at the business open time, which was 9 a.m. Max is the maximum time a appointment can be made, which is just the closing time of the business. Then we have the default view, which we'll set as bigcalendar.views.month. So this is saying the default view is a calendar that displays the month. And again, we'll see this more when we go and test it. Views, we pass in all views, which was the array we set up at the top. And this is just saying all the views the big calendar is capable of. So the default view is month, but it can also, the calendar can also display days and weeks as well. Next, we have the default date, which we'll just randomly set to July 7th, 2008. On select event. So this is a function that is fired every time a select event occurs. So when a user books an appointment, this function will be called. and we have it set up to do an alert. So we'll alert the user when they make an appointment of the start time. So that's what it is. Event.start is the start time of the appointment that the user booked and confirmed. And then we have onSelectSlot, and this is how we pass in the date to our React state. So this is how React state is aware of what date is selected from the calendar. So this is also an arrow function, and we do slot info, and then at curly brackets, we do this.setState because we want to first save the start and end time to the local state. And start slot is slotinfo.start, and end slot is slotinfo.end. And then we also set our start display, which again displays our start time. So it's going to be slotinfo.start to local string. And then we also want to do this.handle click open, which will open our dialog box, which we'll set up in a second. So let's now set up our render method. So we'll start with the header of appointments, and then we'll display our list of appointments in a paper. So let's do paper and then a Turner expression, this.state.format events. So if the events are formatted, we do the question mark and then this.state.format events.map. And then for each appointment, we pass it in to the show to-dos functional component. And remember to pass in the key as well, because again, this is an array. And then let's do a line break, and then we can pass in our calendar with a Turner expression as well. Now we need our dialog box, and we'll work smart, and to save time, we'll just copy it from our post.js component and then edit it here. So in the dialog box, we'll want to display first confirm appointment. Then for the content text, we want to display the appointment time. So we'll do appointment time : and then this.start.start display. Then for a button, we can do this.handle appointment confirm, and we can change agree to confirm to keep everything consistent. And because we're going to be getting these appointments from Redux state, let's also set up our map state to props and map dispatch to props functions. So we'll need the DB appointments, which we'll set up in the user reducer. So we'll just do state.userReducer.db appointments. Then for dispatch props, we'll do event success. Then we'll do appointments, and we'll dispatch it with the action creator, as we've seen several times before. And finally, we'll just export default at the bottom with the connect function as well. So let's now set up the actions in Reducer to work with this. So as always, we'll set up the action types first. So we'll do appointment success, and we'll set it to a string of appointment success. And now we can set up our action creator, and we'll set it up in the same exact way we've seen before, and pass in a parameter of appointments, and then type of action types.appointment success, and then payload of appointments. Now let's go in our user reducer, and then first set up a property of DB appointments, and then set up our case statement. All right, and we're done setting up the Redux store, so we can go ahead and close these files. So let's now set up a route and a link in the header for the admin dashboard. So let's first import admin dashboard from ./profile/admin dash. Then we'll set it up as a private route because we don't want unauthenticated users to be able to access it. And next we can just set up a simple link in the header for our admin dashboard. So let's now go back to our admin dashboard. And the first thing we'll do is add .css to this import statement. Because again, remember, we're getting the CSS from our npm module and manually importing it here. And then let's just have a quick look through of our admin dash and see if everything's as it should be. And yes, let's just change the name of our function from date2string to date string2object, since that's what we have set up in our .then statement. And one more thing here, we need to set event to events in our big calendar. And then we'll need a closing tag for our big calendar because it is a functional component. And let's change get DB appointments to get appointment success, since again, that's what we set up as an action creator name in our actions file. And here in our render method, we'll need a colon before null. And that looks to be it. Let's now set up our server to handle our appointments. So let's go to our schema.sql file. And you'll see I have the SQL command set up here for our appointments table. So the first thing we'll need is AID, which is again just the primary serial key. The title of the appointment, which we'll keep short to just 10 characters. And then start time will be timestamp with time zone unique. So this is important because with time zone unique ensures that we're not saving multiple appointments in our database of the same time. So this ensures, the unique keyword ensures, that we won't run into any conflicting scheduling issues. Our database will only hold unique start times and end times. So there cannot be a overlap of appointments that start at the same time. And let's now go to our routes and then set up the SQL query. So we'll go at the bottom of our file and first do a router post to save the appointment. So it will be API/post/appointment. And then for the values, we'll need the title, the start time, and the end time. And again, this is going to be a very standard regular SQL insert query. So we'll just do pull.query and then insert into our appointments table the title, start time, and end time. And we'll do values $1, $2, $3, and make sure the values array matches up with the order that you declared the column names. And then after our SQL query, we'll just do comma and then pass in the values array. And after that, we have our standard query arrow function. Next, we'll set up our router.get statement, and it will be API/get/all appointments. And since all we need to do is get the appointments, we'll just run a query of select star from appointments, and that's it. And then our arrow function, we can do rest.json and then qrest.rows. So we'll get back our array of appointments in JSON format. And one more quick fix, in our admin dashboard, it should be .toLocale string with an E. And again, this is a given JavaScript function and just converts our date to a displayable format. And in our user reducer, let's also get rid of the array, since again, our appointments will already come as an array. So we don't want to put an array within an array. And now we can begin testing our calendar in our admin dashboard. So let's go to our app and then do a fresh login. And since this is the admin app, remember to log in with the admin. So we click on our admin dashboard, and I already have this pre-populated with dates, and the user can clearly see when their next appointment is on what date. And our admin calendar also displays the appointments. And as you can see, the default is a month view, but we can also do a weekly display of the appointments and also day-to-day displays of the appointment as well. And to change the range of dates, we just click on the next button. Now let's click on one of the slots to make an appointment. So let's click July 31st at 3:30, and you see we have a dialog box that's asking us to make the appointment at July 31st at 3:30. So we can just do confirm. And awesome, we see the booking was confirmed as an alert. And if we go back to our admin dashboard, yeah, we see July 31st at 3:30 right there. And our calendar is displaying our appointment as well. And we see an alert if we click on that appointment. And let's just make another appointment to really confirm. And let's check, and yep, it's working as expected. Perfect.